All right, guys, what's up? It's your boy Cisco here again with another episode of the Code 3 Club. And today we got Brian. He's 31 years old. He lives in the city of Torrance. He's currently working as a firefighter paramedic in San Diego County. He's got 2 seasons on the B side with Cal Fire and over 10 years of EMS experience. Just finished probation as a fireman. Congratulations. And he is a proud, happy father and husband. On his free time, he enjoys fishing and taking his Jeep out to the desert.
Did I say I like fishing?
That's what you said.
I went like fishing like a couple times. I mean, but I like taking my Jeep out, and then I sold it. So that's me. I work in Borrego Springs right now as firefighter paramedic. I'm actually our union secretary, so local 4160, to give them a shout out just because it is what it is. I have a 2.5-year-old son who's a pain in my ass sometimes, and a daughter on the way, so looking forward to that. I like shooting, jeeping, all that stuff. I have a fishing pole. But yeah, so let's get into it.
Cool. So I'm a new fireman too. You finish your probation. I don't got a bunch of like fire stuff and fire experience to talk about, but I can talk about EMS stuff because I got plenty of time with that.
I can talk about EMS stuff all day.
So you've gone through quite a few EMS systems, like both as an EMT, and then you became a medic, and then you've hopped around from LA, Orange, Riverside, San Diego.
So I started as an EMT in Riverside County. Worked for 4.5 years there. Then went to Tulare as a one. Did 2 seasons there, so that was a completely different EMS system and all that stuff. And I was on the fire side then. Went to Orange and LA County with care, and then as a medic went to Riverside County again. Great system.
Yep.
I obviously love that system. But now I'm working in San Diego County, in the desert, and I've become very fond of that EMS system, with the few exceptions of some things we're missing. But yeah, I worked on a box for way too long. I will say that as an EMT. I just finally let my EMT expire so I got it in 2009, and then expired in 2021. So I've been doing this too long.
What was your E number?
059840.
Wow. Okay. 111-870.
Yeah. See, like that's it. I guess that's how, like, when you ask it, when like older medics ask me, they're like, "What's your P number?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, 40." And they're like, "Holy shit, they're on 40 on 0 something." And I'm like, I guess, is that what it's like now when I say my EMT number? Like, everyone else is like 100,000, and I'm like, God, I should have went to medic school a lot sooner.
I mean, they just burned through EMTs. Like, I remember like 1 month apart from when I got my E number into one of my buddies got his. It was like a 20,000 number difference.
Yeah,
and that's just California.
Oh, it's crazy. Like, it's stupid how many EMTs there are. But it's a job. It's a good stepping stone for no matter what you're gonna do. Like, it teaches you. Like, I would use this in interviews. Like,
being on the podcast, for an interview.
Well, like, for an interview, yeah. But like, if like when people ask you about like what have you done to prepare yourself, and like even on a PD interview, like being an EMT helps you because you talk to people, and like, so you go in there like, oh yeah, I interact with the public, and that's that's points. I don't know how valid that is, but I don't know if they actually gave me points for it, but I always said it.
Like, going through medic school and becoming a medic, one of the things I feel like I didn't have a problem with was just talking to people. Yeah. Especially being when we were at care. Like, we were running the assessments too. And then being in the back.
The being in the back, like, so I learned, like, from being an EMT in a 1-in-1 system where it's 1 medic, 1 EMT, I learned a lot watching a medic that I didn't realize. I figured that out when I went to medic school. And I was like, oh shit, what would this person do? And I just started doing that. And I'm like, oh wow, I guess I did pay attention. And, but then my assessment got stronger, all the times you get shipped BLS, and you're like, you're just, you and the patient just having conversations, doing your assessment, after they ship you. And
so you show up to the hospital. What about this? Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to ask that.
No. And then so you learn what to ask because you have MICNs getting mad at you. And then they go, oh no, it's not your fault. They should have followed up. And you're like, well, fuck, you should have led with that. To that, I've had my ass cheated at St. Jude more times than I can count. And then you can't even count how many times patients change their stories. And even on the, like, as a medic or an EMT, like, you get to the hospital and you're like, you call in a report and they, well, actually, and you're like, asshole. Stuff you mumble under your breath. But every system has benefits and pros, like, to working. Like, I think I say I worked too long on a box, but I think that was what made medic school easy for me. Like, I thought, I was all worried about medic school. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. And everyone was like, dude, you'll never be ready. And then I wasn't smartest. I was like 24th out of 28 in my class. but I was the third person to have my P card. So, you know, it was cool like that. And then, you know, you breeze through internship, you learn a lot, and then get out in the field, and that's where it all starts. And so that's cool. I've been fortunate enough to work in busy systems, you know, working in Hemet, and it's ghetto and fun and fast paced, you know, working on a 12-hour day card and running 8 to 12 calls, you know. So, and usually there's a lot of sick people, so you're getting that experience. And then, you know, I built a pretty good reputation and name for myself that people would trust me. And you call the hospital and they're like, oh, you're like, oh, hey, it's Brian. And they're like, okay, cool, yeah. You know, you get your orders. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, you hear people getting denied on orders, and then you're like, well, I got that order. So
yeah, I've never had orders denied for me.
Yeah, so I think, and it's that, you know, everyone's like, oh, the MICNs don't know you, but you build that rapport with an MICN, they're going to give you what you want. They know you, they're going to trust you. The doctors are going to know you, they're going to trust you. Like, you know, I've gotten an order for MAG for respiratory, like 5 minutes away from the hospital. I didn't realize I was 5 minutes away from the hospital until we showed up because we were out of our area, and I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes out. Okay.
I literally just started flowing this, but here you go, doc. And he's like, oh, thank you. Yeah, one of my funniest stories, I think as far as orders, it was actually on internship, and I gave TXA, but then I got an order to transport to UCI from Corona for like a hand injury because they have a specialist, and this dude's bleeding and shit. And I was like, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. My preceptor's like, okay, cool, yeah, like, where do you want to go? And I was like, I want to go to a trauma center. She's like, more specific. Like, I was like, somewhere with a hand? And she's like, well, I'm like, either UCI or Loma Linda. And I was like, let's go to UCI. She's like, all right, tell base. So like, and then, so you pull in the UCI and you're just giving your report, and you've been in trauma bay there as an EMT and listen. So like, I just nonchalantly threw out there. I'm like, yeah, he's got this much fentanyl. He's got a gram of TXA, blah, blah, blah. And then the attending like stops and looks at me. She's like, you gave TXA in the field? And I was like, yes, ma'am. She's like, oh, wow.
You guys got that?
She's like, thank you so much. I'm like, okay. And then the doctor looks at the cut was wrapped before I got there, so I didn't really see it. I just, took their word for it. And it was bleeding through the bandaging and quick clot. And so I put 2 tourniquets, and then that's when I hung the TXA.
Oh, crap, okay.
I was like, and it's that moment when you look at it, and it's like literally maybe like on the digit, like in ½ inch, and you're like, that's it? And then they pop the tourniquet and it's still bleeding. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, I'm going to feel like an idiot if they pop the tourniquet on this thing, because I put 2. And it's like, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess the meds worked. Sorry, guy. Cool. Peace out. Never see you again. But no, it's stuff like that like little moments like that make you feel good about it, like being a medic. Like, oh, hey, I made the right call. Like, I'm doing my job.
So then with that, right, being able to be independent and make your own decisions and choices, you're telling me San Diego or Riverside is your favorite
I like
jurisdiction?
I think Riverside, just because the protocols and like the freedom to do a little more and like the couple extra jugs, like having MAG and TXA in Riverside where I don't have that in San Diego, where I need it in San Diego. So the thing about San Diego is there's a board of trauma surgeons, and none of them want TXA, with I think maybe like an exception of a couple. So if you have something like a gnarly trauma where you want to hang TXA, Mercy and Reach, they'll do it, but they usually will try to go, for us, they'll go to like Desert or Eisenhower, Desert, because that's our other closest trauma center, because it's in Riverside County. So the doctors aren't going to do that. If they fly to like Palomar or Scra or whatever the other UCSD, the doctors are like, getting all, aggro. Oh, you can't do that, not in this county. Same with MAG. Like if they're going to give drugs like that, they'll just go to Riverside because they know they can do it. I guess that's a cool thing about having an airship all the time is
I think about that. So the airship drugs and the airship protocols are slightly different from what we have on the ground.
Yeah.
Even though they can give it, why do you think the doctors are tripping out?
Because they don't like being overstepped. It's an ego thing. Like they're what I say goes, and I've built a great rapport with the airships we use frequently that they'll do stuff, and I don't think I've had a trauma in San Diego County that I've needed to give TXA for. So I haven't had to cross that bridge yet. I don't know if they gave MAG to our preeclamptic lady when we flew her, but I'm sure they did. But then the hospital's like, well, I guess you have to. So it's stupid. Like, you look at some places, like Riverside's very proactive. Like, okay, if they're preeclamptic and they're symptomatic, like they haven't had a seizure yet, but they have a headache and all that stuff, you hang mag. If they're preeclamptic and they call 911, you're hanging mag because you're just going to treat it. You rather prevent it than let it happen. Where you have other places where like, oh, if they have a seizure, I guess we'll just give Versed.
Yeah.
Like it's and like you're stopping the seizure for a second, but you have to think about with eclampsia, what's really causing the seizure. Unless they have epilepsy, then Versed, they're going to seize again, and you're just going to cause more harm to the fetus.
Yeah, you're not really getting the underlying problem.
Yeah, you're not treating the imbalance. And all mag is an electrolyte. It's safe. There's few contraindications. I think there's no contraindications to it, actually, is there? That you can think of off the top of your head? I mean, I can pull up some notes right now, and I'm pretty sure there's... Yeah.
We need a Jamie, like from Joe Rogan.
Yeah, so it's like...
Jamie, pull it up. What's the contraindication?
It's a very safe drug to use, and there's so many different things you can use it for. Respiratory, and I was like, it's one of those drugs, like albuterol. You can use it for so many different things.
I actually found out from Jimmy years ago that they'll give albuterol for septic patients. That they'll go over 10 milligrams and it'll still be nebulized.
And what was I...
So I got patients with renal impairment, creatine clearance of less than 30 milliliters per minute, heart block, or hypermagnesia.
Okay, cool.
So basically nothing.
Yeah, basically nothing. It's pretty safe. You're not going to kill someone giving them mag. And it's funny, like, you look up, like, albuterol, like, you look at, like, so why do you give it to crush patients and, like, all that stuff? Like, because it opens up their blood vessels to accept the calcium, and they accept the bicarb. It helps your body retain that stuff. That was my simple understanding of it. If you want to break it down in medical terms, someone out there, that's on you. But at least I know why I'm giving it. That's crazy. So that's I think I could live without TXA where I'm at. Like, I mean, granted...
You were living without it before.
Because that's...
You were BLS and the other two.
Well, yeah, and like, it's like I've given it twice. Once on internship, once on my own, and it's like, cool. Like, it's good to have. Especially being so far from the hospital, but at least I have people around me that can give it if I need it. But mag, I would... With the amount of the diff breathers and the people I CPAP out there, like, I would rather have mag than anything. Like, and it's crazy that we don't. When I asked about it, they're like, oh, we did a study with eclampsia, and there was not enough patients to justify putting it in the protocol. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. There's so many other things you can use it for. And, like we were talking about earlier, it's like within a 2-week period, I had preeclampsia, torsades, and then, like, a few diff breathers that I could have justified giving mag to. And it's like, well, here you go. Here's 4 or 5 patients within 2 weeks that I could have used one drug for, so tell me.
Yeah, I can't believe you don't have mag alone just for the purposes of torsades, right? Because paramedicine, the whole beginning of it, right? Cardiac problems, full rest.
Yeah, and then that's the thing, I think that's one difference we can do in San Diego that we can't do, I couldn't do in Riverside, is hang AMI. But, I mean, how many times have you come across a patient where you've had to hang AMI?
Me? None. I haven't had it.
I've hung it 5 times within this last year. So it's kind of, I think it's the older population that we have. It's a snowbird community, it's a retirement community. It's starting to get younger, but it's funny because then you talk to other people and you're like, oh yeah, I've never hung AMI. I'm like, oh shit, I did 5 times this year. I guess I'm just a shit magnet.
See, that's kind of like with dopamine. So I've actually never had to give dopamine, but I've given push-dose epi quite a few times.
I've given push-dose epi once, and San Diego we had dopamine. We just lost it, thank God, and we're getting push-dose. We got push-dose epi. But
I like push-dose. It works.
It worked. Push-dose is nice. I was about to give dopamine to one, and Riverside. So Riverside's like, okay, yeah, if you give a fluid bolus to a septic patient, just give them push-dose epi. Because it's not really a pressor, it's so low. It's not like dopamine where it's gonna stay in their body and mess them up. Like, because they say with sepsis they don't want you giving pressors. It's just fluid. Just give fluid.
Gotta flush out the bad stuff.
So I gave like 2 liters of fluid to like maintain a blood pressure at 90. Because they're like, yeah, don't give dopamine. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, that was my one chance. And then we lost it. And I was like, cool. And I was like, well, I guess I've given every other drug I can give in the field. Minus lidocaine, because I'd rather not do math and I'd rather just hang AMI. And then you have those old medics that are like, well, why didn't you hang Lido on that guy or give him some Lido? I'm like, because I have a pre-mixed bag that I can just spike and piggyback it in.
See, I guess I would have to study more on it, like refresh myself. But I remember also being told that the whole lidocaine versus amio is like superior.
Well, but
lido is cheaper.
Well,
so that's why a lot of counties get it.
In the time, amio will stay in your body is like 45 to 60 days. So where lidocaine will be quick in and out, like you're not gonna. Amy's gonna stay in your body for longer. Yeah, it's got a way longer half-life. So I think that's why they're like, oh, Lido's, but I'm like, blow me. I'm gonna get what I want. I like it. So and I don't know if you've learned it as like a new medic. Like the first time, like there's like someone who's like tries to chime in. The first time you snap back at them and you're right, then that's when they back off you. Because that's all it took was just me to be like, no. I don't want to. This is why. And they're like, oh, okay. And they don't question you anymore. And you're like, cool.
Sorry, well, I got it figured out.
Thank you. Bye. So, a little bit about where I work. It's in the northeast part of San Diego County in the middle of the desert. So, my closest hospital is 52 an hour away by ground. My closest specialty center by ground is an hour and a half. That's JFK is my closest STEMI center.
Really?
Yeah. My closest trauma centers are Palomar, which is, I've gotten Palomar in an hour and a half before. It's like 70 miles. And then Desert. I think that's a little bit further. So I think it's like Pioneers in Brawley. So it's in Imperial County. Brawley is like 60 miles. JFK is 65 miles. Temecula Valley's 67.
If you have to go to Temecula.
And then, well, I mean, there are strokes in STEMI Center, so at least we have that going for us. And it's an easy drive. That's the nice part about it is, like, once you get through Warner Springs, it's a coast drive. Like, there's nothing bad about it. Palomar is a little bit of a stretch to get to, but that's our closest trauma center. And I've actually had to go there by ground twice. And it's both, like, in the middle of the night. And because it gets so windy in Borrego, you can't always get a helicopter. Like, I had to textbook bleed, like 240 over 120, raccoon eyes, all this recti-quad, incontinent, and I'm like, and then you have a ped patient who's like trauma criteria, and so San Diego County's protocol is, so with peds you go to Desert, right? Ped trauma, and then they'll transfer them to Loma Linda.
Yeah, realistically, that's what we would do.
Realistically,
if we get a ship, we can just fly them straight.
Yeah, if you get a ship. For us, like, so San Diego wants you to go to Rades, and then they'll take the adult across the street to, I think it's Sharp? Or Scripps, one of the two. I forgot the name of it. I think it's Scripps. I don't care. I'm not going to go there. I just know. I've sent someone there once like that, but they went in an airship, so it wasn't my problem. So that's the thing. And I was like, and so I'm on the radio, and this guy wanted an AMA. And I'm like, dude, you're going to die. You know that, right? And he's like, I don't care. I just focus on them. Kid was stable. She was 11. It was pelvic pain. So I was like, I told Palomar, I'm like, hey, I want to come to you guys. I know this is the policy, but this guy's going to be patient at some point during transport, and I'm way more concerned about him, because he has a bleed. And they're like, well, he's A&O 4, like, I'm like, I know, but I told him he's an idiot, and he's going to ride back here with me in the back of the ambulance in the front, so that way I can treat him later. But I want to come to you guys, even though I have, a ped. And they accepted it, and we got there. And that was funny, because so he's sitting on the bench seat, because the girl couldn't sit on the bench seat. She's on the gurney, and then, I'm like walking the ER. Like, he decides he's gonna be a patient like 45 minutes in the transfer, and I'm like, all right, you want some pain meds now? Because I think did he have a pneumo? He might have had a pneumo because he couldn't breathe. It was like hard for him to breathe, but his pressures were all fine. So I was just like,
no real contraindication.
It's like it's all diffuse rib pain, all that. 10 out of 10. So I gave him some ketamine, didn't touch him because dude weighed like 330. I couldn't put him in a ship if I wanted to because he weighed so much. We get to Palomar. I'm like, hey, I need a gurney. And I didn't look. My partner's back up thing, and he's like standing up. And she's like, why is he walking if he has a bleed? And I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. He wasn't going to be a patient until 30 minutes ago. And she's like, oh, yeah, I walked in the radio room. Sorry, my bad. And I'm like, bye. Get me a gurney. But no, she was really cool after that. She's like, man, he was an asshole. And I was like, he was. But no, it's funny. Actually, I've gotten some really good MICNs at my base, and because that's so. I would say San Diego's similar to, is it LA, where you have one base hospital per, like you have your base hospital per your area.
So I wasn't really a medic too much in LA, and then I didn't really pay attention to the medics stuff calling until we were working together.
Yeah.
For Orange, and they would just call.
They had to call OCC, and then OCC would be like, you can call this place. Like, so in San Diego, each area has a designated base hospital.
I'm not a fan of that. I want to call whoever I call whenever I want.
Yeah, see, and that's what I don't like. Usually I'm used to like, oh, you just call the hospital you're going to unless you need a base order. And, but it's actually nice because if they're busy, you can jump on the radio with another one.
Okay.
Or you can cut people off, which is I like to do because, so like we talked about earlier, I'd say like 70 to 80% of my calls require an activation, whether trauma, stroke, STEMI, just because of the population. So, you know, people will be like, oh, hey, we're jumping in line, RA such and such jumping in a line, and I'll just be like, hey, you know, I got an acute medical. Or I'll be like, hey, I got like, I think one time like there's like 5 people trying to jump in line, and I was like, hey, I got a VTAC. And they're like, oh, what was that? And I was like, yeah, I got a VTAC with a pulse. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, everybody else stand by. And I was like, cool. I was like, yeah, we're just going to the LZ.
See, that's like San Bernardino. Like San Bernardino, like they would just pick up and they would ask you, like, okay, like, do you need an order? Well,
yeah.
You just give them super quick and they'll jump you to the front. That's something I don't like about Riverside, at least in my experience. Maybe you know a way around it, but I can't do radio.
Yeah.
I have to do a phone call. And I don't like that I have to do a phone
Some
call.
hospitals still have a radio that you can use it, but they'll still be on the phone and they're just going to tell you to wait because they're just impatient or whatever. And then there's so many. Because there's so many, I think that there's so many ambulances in Riverside County that everyone's trying to call at once, you know? So that's where the backup is. But the nice thing about San Diego is we have a radio communication failure protocol.
See, we don't got that.
Yeah, so we can just treat within, like, if, you know, call drops, especially out where I'm at, like, service sometimes is horrible, and you're not going to get out on the radio.
Yeah, Verizon.
No, I actually have AT&T. I have FirstNet, and my service is great. Like, if I make a phone call, but I'm always on the radio. They rather you call the radio. I'll call the phone. Like, sometimes if there's like stuff I don't want to say on the over the air because everyone listens to it and all that. But it's not bad. But it's funny. Like the other day we had a stabbing, and I was like, and then everyone's like jumping in line. I'm like, hey, can you take a trauma? And they're like, because they know where we're at. They know if they hear it at like 291, 91, 391. They know. That's Borrego. And so they're like, yeah, we're open for trauma. And I was like, hey, cool. Like, our airship's going to be coming to you in like 20 minutes with one. Bye. I'll contact you for a report later. And she's like, what? And she's like, well, let me know when the airship gets there. I'm like, we just backed up to their base. Like, they're going to be in the airship. The crew's in the back of the ambulance. They'll be in the back in like 2 minutes and gone. She's like, okay, give me a report real quick. And it's funny. So they do, like, it's weird because they, like, you know, they do, minor, moderate, acute for their call status. Is like, you're like, oh, minor status.
Like activation. Like, this is a full thing you're going to get everyone.
Well, this is like a, yeah, like, it's be like, oh, this is like a mild status medical or a moderate status medical or an acute medical. And I'm like, I never say that. I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is what I got. You figure it out. And, no, it's funny because they're cool. I like them.
That's some LA stuff. This is my impression of treating all people.
Yeah, I just tell them, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm like, and then, like, if I'm going to do anything that it's, like, borderline, I'm like, what do you think about this? But I'm already drawing it up. And they're like, yeah, go for it. I'm like, or I'll
already gave it.
Yeah, cool. You know, it's funny because it's like, our Versed dose is up to 5 milligrams. Well, it was until this last one update. But it was, like, up to 5 milligrams, so it's like if you're gonna go like to give it before cardioversion, I'm just like, I'd just be like, oh, because I'm gonna fly it anyways. I asked the flight nurse, I'm like, how much Versed do you want before we cardio over at this person? 2's fine. Cardio over to, you know, and the dude was like, so one time I've cardio over to someone and they're like, oh man, that was fun. He's a 90-year-old man, and I'm like,
that was fun.
Fun? Fuck. You need different hobbies, sir. Can't trace that adrenaline rush. But yeah, it's cool. That was I think I gave that guy 2 bags of Ambi and he still wouldn't convert. He was just VTAC at like 190, 200, and I'm like, this guy's gonna arrest at any second.
How old are the people up there? Like,
I think the majority of the population is like mid 70s to like early 90s. It's a retirement town. Like in the snowbirds, they come down there all in their 50s and 60s. So our population year round, like, and so in the summer right now, our population's around 3,000 ish. In the summer, it jumps up to like 12, or in the winter, it jumps up to like 12,000. We have like in our first due, we have like a world or like a top. I think it's like a top 30 California golf course. It's pretty cool.
You've gone there after work, right? I've seen you
multiple times. So if you have a golf course in your area and you're not playing the golf courses in your area, you're not doing good PR. No, I mean, there's like a nice resort, so like that people come there for that. Like, so it's nice. We're actually trying to schedule a tournament there for the Firefighters Association. So,
Dude, you're doing a lot of work for your department.
Look out there, yeah. So we have that in the works. We're trying to, we're trying to get the community to know that we exist, basically, because there's a lot of people in the community who don't know that the town has their own. And it's not even actually a town. There's no mayor. There's nothing. It's classified as a desert village. Yeah, in the census. It's a desert village, so we're governed by a fire board. We're a special district. But there's people that don't know we exist. They think we're, Cal Fire, but we're our own entity. Oh, just call this person. That's
a big thing. Everybody wants people to say that they have their own.
It is. I think, people, and like there's people, it's funny. There's two extremes. There's people who like don't know we exist, and there's people who are just all about us. And it's funny because they'll be like, oh, well, who do I call for snake removal? And there's a Facebook group. It's like, all the villagers, they call them, the citizens. They'll post a picture of, there's a snake in my house. Who do I call? And someone will be like, oh, and then someone will be like, call the fire department. And then, we'll go out there and pull snakes out of people's houses all the time. It's kind of fun. Like, I hate snakes, but, I have a picture with me, like a 6-foot gopher snake holding it up.
Do you guys have like the glove? Like, you gotta wear the metal gloves, or?
No, we just, so, I'm gonna blow your mind with this. We have no SOPs, SOGs for our department. There's one policy, and it's the San Diego County, like, it's a county-wide policy, and that's like our, the 2 in, 2 out, in our accountability policy. Other than that, there's no policy on everything. Like, when I first got there, everyone's like, oh, my partner was like, yeah, if we get a snake removal, you bunker pants and, structure gloves. And then one day, like, as one of my partners was like, fuck, I'm not going to put on work gloves and grab the snake grabber. And so I asked the captain, I was like, do we have to wear bunker pants every time? And he's like, no, who told you that? And I was like, it's like, you can wear your uniform if you, just don't get bit. And I was like, sweet. So we got we have a tube that we put them in, and then everyone's like, what do we just go release them in the desert? It's like, you live in the desert. What do you expect? Snakes are going to come into your house. Like, yeah, just call us, we'll remove them. And there's cool ones, like the sidewinders, they can get a little aggressive. Gopher snakes, some are calm, some are aggressive. And then like there's like rosy boas. I've never seen one, but it's supposed to be like this cool looking red snake. Caught a red racer the other day. It was like this 6-foot like thin red snake with a black head. It was pretty sick. What else do we have out there? It's like some desert tortoises. Some lady in her backyard had this like 30-pound tortoise. It's like, that's cool. We went to the paleontology center for the other day.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was
so,
really cool.
A fun fact about Borrego is apparently they found like a 1,000,000-year-old mammoth tusk out in the Borrego Basin, or Borrego Badlands, out like Ocotillo Wells area. And then there was a tortoise shell that was like 2.5 million years old. I was like, what? That's all I'm. This is pretty cool history in our area. Like, apparently it used to just be some savanna, and you look at the mountains, you can see, like, even if you look at the mountains where you're at, you can see all the water lines when you get past Salton Sea, like where there used to be water. And like, apparently that was millions of years ago. I'm like, oh man, that's cool. So there's stuff like that out there. We have all the bighorn sheep and the rams that everyone's like.
We had the Tri-City area had to put up a fence because too many of the sheep kept going on the road.
Yeah.
So now we don't really see them. They're behind the mountain. They're on the other side.
Yeah, see, they come down. They'll go up the mountain and they'll come down for water, and we have like an oasis that they'll come down for water, and that's where people like to go out there. There's a big rams count or big sheep count that gets every year. It got canceled, and it really offended some people. Apparently, 2 people dying on a hiking trail within a month, and like 3 others that were super messed up. That wasn't enough to like close the trail. They were like, the sheep count takes precedence over, we've been doing it for years. It's like, dude, get over yourself. They're sheep. Count them next year. They're like, we have to count them in July because they come down to get the water. And it's like, you go to the parking lot. They're all sitting in the shade right there. I'm sure you're missing like 5, but there's all the sheep in the park are right there. So it's cool. I say the one thing about a single station department is we rely heavily on everybody else around us as far as outside agencies, just because we can't really do anything outside of a medical aid on our own. Like if we have a rescue in the park, because we cover part of the Ansel State Park, we need, sheriff's has the rescue helicopter with a hoist. Cal Fire San Diego that's our next closest engines, and they're 20 minutes away. So it's crazy. Like you do get a fire or get a working call, like a cutter or something, and you're going to be by yourself for a little bit. So you gotta learn to do stuff on your own. And I think that's especially on the box. So being a medic, they teach you, 10 minutes, strokes, traumas, 10 minutes.
Probably any decision you transport
10 minutes. So I look at that as like my first 5 minutes of my call is, am I going to call a bird or not? Like, do I need a helicopter? And usually it's like when I walk in the house, like, I'm like, okay, I need a helicopter for this person. Because that's going to take... we actually got one now in town. So we have a bird in town that does our transports. If they're gone, though, that's going to take us 20 to 40 minutes, depending on where they're coming from. So, that's our fastest call, I think, was because so the way their helicopter sits is like right across the street from like the medical center in town, which is a doctor's office. They hold the clinic, and people use it like an urgent care, and it's not. So some guy went in there with like a stroke. I think this is the fastest call in the history of the village. So we get there, and we because it came in like it's a stroke, so we're like, hey, just launch the airship just in case. And if it gets too hot there, because their base is temporary, they're living in RVs, they go to an off-duty house just to stay cooler. So luckily we started them early because they had to come up from the thing. And that was, I think, between patient contact and transport, it was 15 minutes. And I was like, that never happens there because there's always a delay in trying to order something. And I think our average call, like our fly-out calls, the average time from start to finish is usually like 45 minutes to an hour. A transport call is about 3 hours. Okay. Yeah, at minimum. Because you do a lot on scene because it's like you have the time. Even if you're going to fly them, you still have the time. Just get your lines, do what you want to on scene, and then go to your LZ. Because we have 2 LZs. Sometimes we'll land them in the roadway if we have to. A lot of on your own stuff. So, you get, like I was saying, TC with fire with 6 patients. Well, I know, like, it's like, well, you got to put out the fire because it's in some vegetation, and that's going to take off. We have 3 medics that can, between my shift, we have 3 medics, the engineer and 2 firemen. So it's like they can start assessing patients and, figure out what we need to do. So it's like, that was probably...
Are you 1-in-1?
No, it's so dual medic on the box. So both firefighters on the box are paramedics, and then the engine is staffed with the engineer and a captain. On our shift, the engineer's a medic, the captain's an EMT. We have 1 shift where the captain's a medic, so there's 4 medics on the shift.
You guys have A, B, and C, or just A?
A, B, and C work 4896. But so what other people like.
Are you guys hiring?
No. Oh, actually, we are. We have a vacancy, 2 vacancies right now, and so if you want to run if you want to run critical calls but not a lot of calls, it's a place to work. So we pull up on a TC, and got a big column of smoke, and it's one of those things there's calls when you can walk up, and especially out there, you can know, like, I walked up as I'm going to grab a line because I'm like, I'm just gonna knock this down real quick. It's not gonna take me long. And I had my partner, it's like, we decided on the way to the call, he's like, hey, if there is a fire, like, if it's really going, what do you want to do? I was like, because if you're driving the box, usually you're the nozzle man. That's like the nozzle man seat. The other guy's the other guy, the attendant's patient man or hydrant man. If we're going to a fire and there's no patients, and he's going to grab the hydrant, the other guy's going to go to the nozzle. And so I was like, hey, you just do patient care real quick. And so I threw my shit on real quick because I saw the call in the smoke. I'm like, all right, cool. And like everyone, some people, do you put your hood on when you're going to a TC?
I used to. Now I just keep it in my pant pocket.
Yeah, so my hood stays like right here in my strap that goes across the throat. That throat strap, my hood just sits right there. And because like I had partner, like one of my best partners was like, well, he's always like, he always put his hood on, and he's like, you know, what if we have a fire? And I'm like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Well, we're driving to the call and I had to cross that bridge.
You should have told me you're patient, man.
Well, no, he had already left by then. And then, and I'd always, old habits die hard. And I was like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And then, so we're driving to this TC, and they're like, oh, be advised, the RP says the car's on fire now. I don't have my hood on. And I'm like, hey, grab the wheel. Throw it on real quick. And, it's a straight road. It's the desert. You're fine. Just hold it straight. And, but yeah. So it's the calls like that. There's a few times where you can just, within a minute of getting on scene, you're like, hey, start an airship. Because I looked over and I could see, a PED patient. And I'm like, hey, we need an airship go. And the captain's not even off hasn't even stepped off the foot of the engine yet. I just told my engineer's opening his door. I'm like, hey, tell him we need an airship and get me water right now. I think it's funny because, so you guys have 45 minutes. We have 30-minute bottles. Scott's still. So I know, working for me, a 30-minute bottle lasts me 15 minutes, of working time, of actually working. I burned through, I think, not even 1,000 on my bottle. I think it was I was only fighting fire for 5 minutes, and this thing was out, and then I went back to do patient care. And so they had already had, we had one critical, and we started the airship right away. I think the airship landed because they were in town. They had, before our second engine got there. And the chief, second engine show up, and I'm like, at that point, I'm like, cool, I was fire attack, now what do I do? I was like, I guess I'll be medcomm. So I was like, cool, I guess to be fire attack and medcomm in the same call. And, yeah, we ended up landing 4 birds on the highway that day. Because everyone had to go to a trauma center, because, there wasn't a death in the vehicle, but it could have went that way, so... And, some people were just criteria. They were in the vehicle, no injuries, whatever. They just...
So everybody got out before...
Yeah, everybody got out. Some by choice, and some by poor choices, and some got pulled out by citizens. So
then...
One got ejected, and then I think one was able to help themselves out, or they all had to be pulled out by a bystander. Or else it would have been a completely different call.
So then you guys were one engine, one box department.
Yeah, it's engine in a box, 4 people to staff the 2. So if the box is out, it's just the engine. It's an engineer medic and a captain, or sometimes captain medic on one shift. And
do you guys have specialties? Do you have a USAR team or a swift water? Are you guys it sounds like you guys have
we have
single-story buildings.
Yeah, we have I think we have a wide rise. We have 2 buildings that our 35 can't reach. It'll reach it, but it's not safe to climb. There's no rungs to go over the building. The only reason we would need a truck ever is for those 2 buildings. Sorry, I live on a busy street. Yeah, so we need a truck for those 2 buildings, or to keep extrication equipment, because not every engine in the county has extrication equipment. Yeah, so our engine has full complement, cutters, spreaders, airbags, all that stuff. The little rams, all that, everything. It's all older stuff, but hey, it works.
It works.
Yeah, it's all older stuff. I wish we had the Gucci stuff, but no, it works. It's all.
I heard some departments are transitioning to electric now.
Yeah, that is. And that's what we're, I'm like, we need to have at least an electric, because so the areas we have cutters, the box is going to smoke the engine. The box will smoke the engine 9 times out of 10 because we're just faster. That engine drags. I'm like, we need an electric cutters and spreaders on the box, just because I was like, it's not like we're a single function box. We're trained firemen. We all have Auto X. We all do that. We should be able to at least pop a door. Have one person doing patient care while the other guy can start popping the door before the engine gets there, Where are we going with this? I've lost my train of thought. I started going on rants. But it's one of those places, you learn pretty quick to either be self-sufficient or you're not going to make it. You're going to get help. It's just going to be a little while. Like I said, my next engine was, I think, 20 minutes away.
What's that brand? It's
30 seconds out? Yeah. We all, also my shift, we all have that sticker on our helmet. That no one's coming, it's up to us. I actually posted that in one of my, in our story. I think was it on that call, or we had a cutter, and
We just put up one of their flags in our station.
We have one too that we're gonna put up, but I tagged them in it, and they liked it. It felt cool so that's one of the things I started doing was doing our social media for our. We always had an Instagram, and I was like, well, why don't we make it active? So my engineer, who's our union president, he does the most of the posts because he's.
I always felt that you did the first because
I do the stories.
I do. And I'll see the gram post.
Yeah, so I do the stories, but I'm not. What's the word I'm looking for? Like my punctuation, grammar, spelling, all that. That's not my strong suit. I'm good at math. I'm good at medicine. Yeah, so I let him do all that stuff because I post occasional, like randomly. Like I think I posted one the other day, and but mostly I just do all the stories because that's the creative stuff. It's like, oh hey, look at that. it's safe for Brian to do. So yeah, no, but yeah, my shift. That's our thing. We all have those stickers on the helmet because it's true out there. Like you learn to be self-sufficient, and it's funny. Like everywhere, I think I shouldn't say everywhere. The two places I've worked as a medic, you learn a lot about being a medic. I say if you want to learn if you're going to be a good medic or not, go out of county. Go get out of your comfort zone. But if I would say go work in like a busy area. I worked in Hemet, and you found out really quick if you either got it or you don't. You're either gonna be a good medic or you're not. You can't like kind of hide there. So you have to go places where you can't hide. And I think it gets you uncomfortable. It forces you to learn and grow fast. And then going to Borrego, you're like, well, I thought I was good. But damn, like, what do I treat first? This person's got neuro deficits, but I think they might be having a STEMI too. I've got to see some elevation there. But he's already on CPAP, so guess we're just gonna go with all three.
Yeah, I didn't get to run it. I was actually off that day. One of my partners from last month, he actually had a patient that was having stroke, STEMI, and it was a trauma. And it's like, okay, well, which came first? Did the trauma cause one or the other?
What's gonna kill him first? Just treat what's gonna kill him first. Treat the vitals and stabilize them. Still give your meds and all that, but if you can, those are the complex ones when you have stuff like that. Like, I've had, I think the majority. See, it's funny because like all my STEMIs that I've had have been like, I think I've had like one or two textbook where it's like, oh hey, look at this.
Yeah.
There's tombstoning, and all the other ones I'm like, that's elevation, that's depression. It's like something jumping out at me. The monitors are not calling it STEMI. Pretty sure this guy's having an MI though. It's like, so and those patients I follow up, and I've had quite a few of them. I'm just like,
are you on image trend?
Yeah, and then I'll just email our coordinator and be like, hey, what was their outcome? And it's like, oh, it was an end STEMI. Oh yeah, they did have a STEMI. Like, of course they did. Well, for sure, the one I for sure thought it was like I think it was CHF, but it ended up not being it ended up being like nothing. I think it was just CHF. And it was like the one time I did a posterior MI, or a posterior 12 lead, and it showed an MI, and I was like,
oh shit.
I was like, cool, I thought this guy was having the right side MI. I actually feel pretty smart about myself right now. And I followed up, and the doctor was even at the clinic, who was like, I use the term doctor lightly. He was like, oh man, that's like only the second time I've ever seen a medic do posterior 12 lead. I was like, I do right side 12 leads all the time. Like, I'll just confirm a right sided 12 lead, and I've had, a handful of right sided MIs. But I just do that just because I'm like, I'm not going to give this guy nitro and kill him. And there's another big debate on that. People don't like, oh, they're a chest pain, they get nitro. No, they don't.
Yeah, my battalion just had a training on that.
Yeah,
and I was asking, because in San Bernardino for nitrates, it says consider.
Everything. I think a lot of protocols say consider it, or be considerate if they're having a right sided MI, because it's It's going to affect preload.
Yeah.
So they're already having issues. Why are you going to do it even more? Like,
that's what our fireman insurance that training that day basically said. Yeah, like nitrates might help them in that moment, but you're trying to treat long term.
Yeah.
So realistically,
just give them aspirin. Aspirin's just fine. Like, you're gonna get them, and then what they need is the cath lab. We're not gonna save them. The cath lab's gonna save them. Like, don't give nitro just to give nitro, because I've had. Like everyone says, oh, a AAA is going to be like ripping chest pain to their back, so you're going to know it's a AAA. No, they're not. My AAAs have been like, just can't sit still, and they're like, one was like, oh, I can't breathe. I feel like when I got stabbed, and I was like,
So you're telling me, okay, well, two things. First, you're telling me you've had multiple. Second, you're telling me this old boy got stabbed prior.
He's like, it feels like when I got stabbed, and I'm like, listening to his lungs. He's like, I can't breathe. I'm like, I'm getting ready to dart this guy, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what it is. I even checked blood pressures on both sides, just in case, and they were even. And I was like, man, if this guy would have told me he had chest pain, I would have been like, here you go, bye. And I wouldn't, because I was thinking he was having a pneumo, and then, because everything else was pointing that way other than his pale cold diaphoretic, and even then, he still could have been unstable. He's just like, I can't breathe. And then get to the hospital, and, they're just like, oh, he's dissecting. It's like, oh, wow. Luckily, that guy made it surgery.
Did you get crazy?
I had another one, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it was because that was my second one after that. I was like, she's restless. She just can't sit still, can't breathe. Blood pressures on the other sides are fine. Everything else good. And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, I just can't breathe. And I'm like, all right, cool. Put her in the helicopter. Call the follow-up later with the flight crew. And they're like, oh, yeah. She coded like 5 minutes from the hospital. I was like, oh, wow, that changed. And they're like, yeah, they think she dissected. And I was like, cool. Because even they checked the blood pressures on both sides. That's supposed to be the big tale. But I don't. Yeah, no one tells you. Everyone's like, oh yeah, there's just gonna be a ripping chest pain radiating to their back, and I'm like, no.
That was a lie.
That was a lie. Thanks a lot, school. So it's funny, yeah. And unfortunately, all my actual pneumos, it's like they've all been stable. And I'm like, oh. Fun fact, I don't know if you know this. So most motorcycle helmets now, if you look under, especially dirt bikes, they have a red tab. This is pull for emergency use. So you can pull this tab and it pulls their cheek pads out, and that helmet's not so tight on their head. And then it's good to know, especially if you're going to work in a desert area. If you have a rider go down and they're back pain 10 out of 10 or whatever, because we don't put them in backboards anymore. I don't think that you shouldn't.
Fuck backboard.
Yeah, you shouldn't use a backboard ever, unless you're pulling someone out of a car and take them off of it. Use a KED. If you're really concerned, use a KED.
You've used a KED?
I have.
I have not had a KED.
Twice. And there actually both times was as an EMT, not even as a medic. But, yeah. But, oh yeah, so back to, pop the helmet off. Don't let someone just be like, oh, we're just going to open it up and try to, pull. No, because I luckily saw the tab and was like, hey, no, pull those off. Before we pulled the helmet off, the guy held C-spine, and the dude had a cervical fracture. And that guy also had a pneumo. And yeah, don't wreck your dirt bike doing 60 down a hill. Apparently that's not good. Yeah. It's crazy the stuff you learn in the field.
So I feel like a lot of your stuff has been down here, but you said you were up north for a little bit, and then I always hear California scope is limited in general. Like IVs, right? BLS scope. We don't have it as a BLS scope for EMTs. How is it?
Oh, we don't have EMTIs. We don't even have.
I actually had a captain. He was the only
EMTI left.
in the entire.
That's crazy. No, yeah. When I worked up north or in Central California, the armpit of California, their medic protocols are very progressive. They have great protocols. That was the very first place I'd ever seen MAG given for asthma, and then that was the first place I'd seen it. Because Riverside had just gotten CPAP. You couldn't CPAP into treatment yet at that time. That was 2014.
It's so weird to think about.
And so
they didn't have CPAP.
Yeah, so it was this. They CPAP'd in treatment, gave epi, gave mag, and this dude ended up still getting intubated. But
did you ever get to see the BBM into the MPA thing?
No.
Okay. I never got to see it either. They just told me it's that's what we did before CPAP. MPA with the BBM. I'm like, okay.
I mean, what you can do, if you CPAP a patient and their blood pressure drops and you're going to bag them, you can put your BVM right into that mask and you don't have to worry about a seal because the seal's already created for you. I have done that a couple times, more times than I'm proud of, because apparently, if
Pressure's dog pressure.
Hey, borderline pressure is still above 90, all right? I'll give them fluids, but that doesn't always work. No, I'm kidding. I've done it twice. But yeah, so they're very progressive up there. I didn't pay much about it because I was just a fireman EMT as a seasonal. So, like, my time up there was all just the B side is cool. I think that's one thing I think everyone, if you want to work in the fire service, you should go work this time on the B side. Because, you know, you hear everyone complaining about force days, recalls, mandos, all that stuff. Dude, schedule B side, they don't give a shit. You're like, hey, cool. What's your longest, have you got stuck on a staffing pattern yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, staffing patterns, all that stuff, where it's like, oh, all days off canceled. Some places are like, they can do that to you? You're like, yeah, but at least I get to sleep in a hotel on my 24 off on a fire.
See, so I haven't actually gone on an assignment yet. Like, every brush fire I've ever gone to, I've only been there for a few hours because my captain had some pull.
But then you still get your meal after 4 hours. You get to go to a restaurant and all that stuff. Like, other places don't get to do that.
Yeah.
That's stuff you take for granted. Like, working for the state, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to get fed after, like, if I'm on a fire longer than 4 hours, they're going to feed me. I'm going to get to go to a restaurant, sit down, go back, take a shower, and be in service. Other places are like, go back and make yourself a sandwich, dude. Like, that's not my problem. And then, like, when you do go out of county, you'll see, like, you get to, or on a strike team, you get hotels and all that stuff paid for. That's nice, but it's fun. That stuff's fun, and you learn quick if you're going to be able to handle not having days off. And I think a lot of that comes to, like, with having a solid foundation at home. Like, my wife's just been solid with everything. We were dating when I was a seasonal. She got a taste of it. Yeah, she handled those, 21 plus days, 27 days. I think my longest was like 27 days. She handled those well. Now it's different. I have a kid. He's never known. I think the longest I've been gone from him has been like 10 days just because I've been working overtime out here. Yeah, so but having a strong foundation at home too is a big part of the fire service. I think if you don't, it's going to cause issues and all that. And then, well, what do they say? Can't do families, causes divorce frequently. CDF, yeah. So you have to find, especially for your department, dude, you finding someone who's going to be strong through all that is huge. I think that's going to make or break, because, home life is going to affect your work life. You're not happy at home, you're not going to come to work, and you're going to drag your crew down and all that. So,
when I got hired, they were like, well, you're going to learn real quick. It's all about attitude.
Yeah, it's all about attitude. If they wanted you to have a family, they would issue you one at the service center, right? No, it's cool. I'm grateful for my time that I had there. Wasn't perfect, but I think at any young fireman, some people they're so against it. They're like, no, don't waste your time doing that. I'm like, you want to go actually like work your ass off and do hard work and figure out, like, yeah, some people say it's a waste of time, but it's like, dude, nothing you can do in the fire service is going to waste your time other than working on a box for fucking 8 years. That is a waste of time. I will say, live at home. If I could do it again, live at home, go to medic school when I was living at home, go to the academy when I was living at home, and do all that, because I didn't even actually go through like a formal, I did the Cal Fire Basic when it changed from the 67-hour academy, because that's the minimum requirement for the state is, so I did that when I was a reserve, and so I look back at it, I'm like, I should have went to this, I should have did this before I got started a family, and because I've known this is what I wanted to do.
Like, but you didn't know.
Hindsight's 20/20, right? So it's like I've known this is what I want to do. I just thought, okay, hey, this is good enough. This is what they require. This is good enough. But other places, they want more. So I was fortunate to get a job in Brega, and I love it. I'm making the most of it, and I'm learning a lot. So that's cool. But yeah, I think that's my biggest piece of advice too, is just go work a season, because it'll like, how like you get that when you get treated like a boot. Well, there's like, I think being on the B side is like below a boot, and it's funny that though that the only place that like will give you respect for doing seasons is CDA or Cal Fire. Is like, you go back on the A side, like you see the medics who had seasonal time get treated differently than the medics who just came in.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are both
for promotion, and for transfers, you get points for it too.
Yeah, but it sucks for you guys to have to. But I mean, they went and did the hard work, they did the bitch work for you, I guess. But no, it's funny because you hear stories of dudes that were like, getting treated like shit, and then they're like, "Oh, dude, you're opening the door. Do it, bud."
Oh, he's strong.
Yeah, he's strong. Yeah, you can come out. Pool buddy.
How'd your dog get inside? I thought...
No, she let him in. Oh. Hey, you can let him out. Yeah, you can let him out. He was opening the door.
Special guest.
What's up, buddy? Hey, you want to say hi? Can you say hi? This is Hunter. Hey.
So we should add video.
We're talking about fire stuff. You want to talk about what's your favorite fire engine? Do you like the helicopter? Do you like the fire engine? Do you like the truck? Do you like the ambulance? They're just happy to be here.
You like fire engine?
No, dude, this kid's like, he loves helicopters. So I always send him videos like I was like when I fly someone out. So in his head, on every call, there is an engine, an ambulance, and a helicopter.
What are you doing, Daddy?
I'm doing a podcast.
Why?
Because Francisco asked me to be on his podcast. Can you say hi? You say hi, Panchito?
I forgot about that.
No?
High five?
Give him high fives.
Oh, there you go. Fist bump?
Knuckles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, hold on. Does he know ET?
No, he does not.
That's right. You got 2 out of 3.
Yeah, so he thinks every ambulance, he'll say fire engine, ambulance, where's the helicopter? It's like, no, everybody gets a helicopter, dude. Which is daddy. But yeah, it's funny because you hear stories of dudes who go, they'll have 8-9 years of B time, and then they go to the desert and they start getting treated like shit, and then it comes up for the sort for vacation, and those dudes are on the top of the list. They're like,
what?
They're like, oh hey man, I need a day off. Like I was trying to get this day, and it's like should have been nicer. Yeah, I think it's funny. As we were talking about it, it's like that's the one department where like medics still get talk shit to by
I wish I would have done some B time. We're talking about the B side, right? So B side, Wildland, A side, municipal structure.
Yes and no.
Well, yeah,
because
obviously the A side is gonna also fight Wildland. And then...
Well, no, the B side you're still gonna you're gonna still be in an AB house. Some of the places, like I worked in the only all Schedule B unit that's still left in the count or in the state, but you still assist the county on structure fires. You still, I
heard working at an AB house as a straight 2 for a medic is like cush.
Depends on where you work. I mean, I haven't worked in an AB house, like other than outside of like just watching as a reserve and like doing my reserve time at an AB house. It depends, like, because sometimes the captain's on the B ride and sometimes the captain's on the A ride, and those are two different mentalities there. But yeah, I mean, I think everywhere outside of where you're at is pretty good. It's pretty cush. Like the department's changing. There's culture change you can see there, which is good.
Yeah. I mean, I love it.
For sand?
Yeah, for sand. Thanks, bud. And but I think my biggest fire was on the B side, like structure fires, commercial, and like I think we were the 4th engine on scene, but we were on the 2nd alarm. It's because everything out there is like, I think Borrego's scattered, like there is way more scattered, and everything's paid call firefighters and all that stuff.
Do you want to play with me?
Yeah, I do. In a second. Go get the baseballs.
Huh?
Go get the baseballs from inside the house. That's the one place I've seen a levy too. It's like you have like a career checklist, and it's like those are things you do.
What is it?
Luckily, there was like a commercial building in between me and the levy. But yeah, it was a small tank. It was like one of those like 500,000 gallon tanks. They had 2 of them. The second one didn't actually explode, but the first one was like, I was like, oh shit, that's what that looks like.
Still have to see it.
Yeah, and then it's funny you watch people like they're pulling juice in half to this roll up door. Like a loading facility is a parapacking plant, and you're like you're like, oh that's gonna flash. What are these dads doing?
You're done, Daddy?
Almost, dude.
Okay.
All right, you want go get the baseballs?
Right there. I thought you were those Dodgers.
No, he's not a Dodgers fan. Say BLA, huh? It's funny. You're like, oh, hey, Cap, that's going to flash. Watch. It does. Luckily, they weren't inside. Like, they got to the door, and they were starting to flow water, and it's like, and I was like, yeah, I called that one. Hi, you want to say hi into the microphone? Don't make fart noises, man.
Hey, you choice. Your choice.
Yeah, I've been talking into it. You talk. What's your name? What's your name?
What am I like an explorers?
I'm going to let him decide what he wants to do. I mean, I'm not going to push him into anything.
What about hockey?
Hockey, yes, I will. I think I'm going to take him ice skating once I stop working some overtime. Take him to the ice rink. And I got him skates. He's got a helmet. And, because he can't play until he's 3, it's most places. Like, actually play, and they'll do skating, like, 3 and 4. So I'm just going to take him skating on his own. Because he fits in the youth skates. He fits into a youth helmet. Like, he's a big kid. I don't know where he got it from. Probably his real dad. I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, he's funny. So he'll. I think one thing we said we wanted to do is like hockey, youth wrestling, stuff like that. Like stuff that'll help his flexibility and his athleticism. But he'll probably end up being a fireman.
Well, what's your dad was PD, right?
Well, my dad was in the Marine Corps first for 20 years, and then went sheriffs. But I think fire is what I kind of always wanted to do. So I just kind of pursued it. If I would have known I would have got veterans points, I would have done that. But I didn't realize you get an extra 10 points on your application. So good thing, if you want extra points, you want 10 extra points, all you got to do is 4 years. Just set those right there, dude. Are those your rainbows?
Yeah, I got some rainbows. They're pretty comfortable.
Dude, that's all we wear. I think it's like the official fireman's off-duty uniform is like jeans and rainbows, depending on where you work, or shorts and rainbows. It's always rainbows. It's funny. You wear boots or rainbows? Dude, as soon as I get off, as soon as my relief shows up, I'm back in sandals. And I'm like, see ya, bye. Oh, let's see what Ramos said. He snapped me back. It's just a boomer. Someone's got a boomer.
He's on duty today?
He said, Ramos said, how the fuck did he get days off? He said, he has one.
We just hired a bunch of people, so it's super nice.
Yeah, my buddy's in that new hire academy right now. The perm. He's a perm. He got his perm 2 spots.
Dad?
What's up, bud?
What's that?
What's that?
What's that?
That's a microphone. You want to talk into it? You want?
Wait, it's going far away.
Wildland structure. I mean, it's all the same thing. I mean, it's not all the same thing, but experience where you're gonna work. I would say that between the two places, between the experience I do have, I don't know. I think wildland fires are more fun.
Dad, you want to go inside, Daddy?
It'll go inside in a little bit.
Why?
Because I'm still recording.
Why?
Because we're not.
Dad.
It's a microphone. Watch you say hi. And I'm kind of a nerd at this point, with this stuff. You look at a wildland fire. You start it on the same hill, 2 days apart or whatever. It's gonna burn 2 different ways. Start it out. You do that every 2 days for 100 fires. It's gonna burn 100 different ways. Because weather changes, the fuels and all that. You start a structure fire. You go to a corner of a house and start that same fire 100 times. That fire's gonna burn at the same time, same way 100 times. Because depending the different structures, you have different fuel loads inside and construction and all that, and depending on people hoarding and stuff. But more often than not, a structure fire behaves the same way, and you know what it's going to do. If you cut it off from oxygen, or if you stop it at one point, what it's going to do. A wildland fire is so much more intricate because there's so many factors you can't control. You can't control the weather. You can't control.
What's my
That.
name?
So for me, being kind of a geek about it, I think it's a lot more complex. There's way more working parts that go into it. You look at every year in California, how many fires get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Every single year is the worst year.
Yeah, it's been the worst fire season ever since 2008. Are you gonna go dig, did?
No, you. Okay. I can't do that.
You want to hear in this? Look at you can hear me talk. Put that in your ear. Watch. Put this one in your ear.
Huh?
Put this one in your ear.
Okay.
Can you hear me talk? Can you hear me?
Next episode we'll have Hunter.
That.
So
I'll
what's your
take
favorite
that
one?
off.
No, you're not gonna take this one off. Here, just listen to this one. You want to listen?
So like, what are your must-haves that are like when you go on an incident?
Like out of county bag must-haves. One of the best things I've ever gotten at base camp was one of those like glide sticks. It's like an anti-chafing thing. I carry more underwear. I think underwear and t-shirts you can never have enough of. Like, how much in your red bag do you have of like underwear and t-shirts?
Right now I got 5 underwear, like 6 shirts.
See, I would carry.
Long sleeve, 3 short.
I'd carry like 10
Daddy,
t-shirts and
help.
like 12 pairs of underwear.
Daddy, help me.
What do you need help putting in your ear? Other than that, like, you want to have board shorts for your 24 off because you're gonna be at a hotel and there's a pool. You want to have regular clothes, workout clothes, gym shoes. With whites, I double sock. And my Danners, I have.
I hear you, Daddy.
Oh, you hear me? Thank you.
No worries.
Thank
I'll
you.
take that.
No, you're not gonna take that one out
Why?
because I'm listening in that one.
Oh, this one.
You want to hear in that one?
Yeah.
Put it in your ear then.
No.
My Danners, they're so comfortable. I just need one sock, and I wear Danners for anything.
Down.
I wear Danners for.
I said down.
You want to sit down? What are you trying to do?
I've been you around.
You spin me around. Don't spin me around.
Sorry. Daddy, stop it. You want to play with me myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with you right now with your shovel.
I'll be you around.
No, don't spin me around.
No.
You can spin me around after.
Mm.
I was gonna say. So, like, I think go-tos is shirts and underwear. Like, your oldest pants, like, your most worn-down pants, I would keep those for, like... But now that you guys got single layer, I mean,
I'm going to be you
you don't need to worry about... Like, I would wear a busted pair of pants, like, on my 24 on. Just because I'm going to be hiking and doing all that shit in them.
Hi.
Hi.
I would say white.
Yes.
Wipes, yeah.
Yes.
I had dude wipes. They have the shower wipe, which is, like, the white one. It's really cool. Like, and then, what you don't think about...
No.
Um...
No way.
Snacks. I always carry snacks, even though they give you the snack nasties. So what you can do is you get the. I didn't like the sriracha chili or the sriracha beef jerky they give you sometimes. That is worth about 3 Uncrustables. So the more you know.
Woo.
So then I would always have snacks on my day off.
Oh, that.
Last incident I was thinking about just like I actually carried just Uncrustables in my bag.
That's smart.
I was just thinking about using them to trade.
Yeah, you can trade Uncrustables.
No, bedtime.
Food is like currency.
Bedtime.
It's not.
Bedtime.
It's spin time.
No.
Yeah, food's like currency on incidents.
It's like jail.
Yeah, it's like. Do you have whites or do you have like the hikes or the Danners?
Oh, I actually have hikes.
Okay, so for my Wildland boot, I have the Danner, and but for anything steep, I have like the whites because when you're like in heavy timber and all those steep areas up north, and
Gotta get that heel.
that heel is, and you have to know how to use it. You have to hike on your heels rather than your toes, and that's where it becomes beneficial. So I think those are good to keep in your out of county bag. But I double sock in those. A Nike sock underneath, and then the REI wool socks, dude. Those things are phenomenal. Anything you want, like as far as little accessories to keep, like a mirror, REI is this place to go. Just get camping stuff. A good headlamp. If you can come up on some bug eyes at base camp, those are good to have. You guys get issued your Wildland pack, so you don't have to worry about it. I have the Mystery Ranch Hot Speed. It's like I would say essentials: shirts, t-shirts, underwear, socks, board shorts, stuff like that, little stuff. Anything if you're gonna put anything like on the engine with you, I would say stuff to keep like warm at night, like when you're sleeping in a hose bed or on 24 on the line or something. You
Try to get a woobie.
Extra sweater. What's a woobie?
So I've been told it's basically just a comfortable blanket, but like some of my buddies.
Is that like a Snuggie?
So what they're telling me is like what the military issues, ponchos.
Okay.
But they're saying that's like
A poncho is a good thing. I like an emergency blanket, anything like that. Like a jet boil if you're bougie and you want to have your nice coffee, get a jet boil. I didn't have one, but you watch other people with their jet boils and they look so happy.
No,
They're like, you got your little Starbucks instant coffee and you're shaking it up and you're like, man, that guy looks so happy over there. This jet boil. Dude wipes, I'd say it's a good thing to have. Any wet wipes. Toilet paper. You never know when you keep a roll of toilet paper in the engine because if you have to shit, you have to shit. And, yeah, wet wipes. Oh, Metamucil.
Really?
Yeah. So, fiber is going to give you a hard poop, right? The last thing you want when you're on assignment is a messy poop and have to wipe a lot. You want a ghost poop. You want to just poop, wipe once, and be done.
One wet poo and done.
Yeah, dude.
Huh. Okay.
Sunscreen. It's obvious.
Sunglasses.
Yeah. Sunscreen, sunglasses. If you can find a pair of sunglasses that are ANSI rated, that's the way to...
Waves. I just bought a pair.
You got the CAL FIRE ones, didn't you?
No, I did not get the color.
I was like, you should. I have like 4 or 5 pairs of those sunglasses.
So they're pretty affordable.
Oh yeah, it's like $50, and for safety glasses, like, I mean, yeah, you can get safety glasses for free, but you can't get sunglasses ones. I mean, yeah. So it's like little stuff like that, like anything that's gonna make you comfortable, especially if you're gonna be gone for so long. If you're gonna be out of county, like, you know, you can bring a sleeping bag if you want. If you have a room on the engine, throw a sleeping, like, get one of those like stuff sack sleeping bags that you can put in your out of county bag. If you can fit a sleeping bag in your out of county bag, I would say that's good. Because, you know, and even then, like, I was looking, like, so you look at the size of the red bag, it's like 80 liters or some shit, but it's like this awkward square. Like, just go get a fucking, like, REI or North Face has those 90 liter duffels, and they're, you know, you could fit so much crap in there, and they're relatively cheap-ish. Like
$40.
I think like 100 something, but less than 200.
Bag.
Yeah, less than 200 for like the ripstop duffel bag. That's like the nice waterproof one, like something you could throw on the engine. You don't have to worry about it. Like if you throw it up top and but yeah, like I think that's like the bougie, like, gonna make you comfortable stuff, and it's worth it to spend the extra money to be comfortable when you're gonna be uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, especially like when you don't know how long you're gonna be.
Yeah, and
it's probably money's at anyway.
Yeah, that's how you make your money. Just go do it. Go do a sign. So are you looking at like are you gonna try to get like overhead jobs, fireline medic, you know? Anything?
I heard fireline medic's like super push.
I heard that's a cool spot, like, but like even the base camp stuff's like, do like, you know, medical unit leader, like.
Well, I've been told that after you do like MFA and stuff, you need to pick not a specialty, but you have to like start taking classes because of Jack.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to pick something for assignment.
Yeah. Do something where like if you can get like an IMT, fuck, dude, that's where it's at. Just go. You just sit at base camp and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna order X amount of batteries today. Oh, okay. You know? Then you're going to be the guy that everyone goes to. They're like, hey, dude, I need this. I'm like, all right, got you.
All right, well.
How'd you like this beer, by the way?
I actually thought it was really good, and I feel like that speaks volumes because I'm not a beer guy.
Yeah, so this is like my favorite brewery, and I found it. So I didn't even know this existed. I was like a Strand guy for the longest time. And then I was talking to one of the nurses at Jude, and he's like, dude, you live in Torrance? Like, Monkish is right there. And I'm like, is it? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, shit. And so I started bringing them beer. And then I tried the beer, and I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. So, and then I've become like a cigar aficionado in like the last few months, too. I'll give you I have some cohibas, like Cuban cohibas.
So I heard they're allowing, well, we got rid of the embargo, right, a few years ago.
But you can't get them still. Like, you have to, like, the website I go through, like, they ship from, like, Switzerland.
Counterfeit. No, but I heard they're sending Cuban people now with, like, all this stuff somewhere else, and then making, like, actual Cubans.
Yeah.
Somewhere else in Southern America, and selling them as Cubans because they are.
Huh. Yeah, like, mine come packaged sealed, like, from Havana. They have a sticker. Cuba, you know, so they have to come through. They can't go straight from Cuba to the U.S. They have to circumvent it. So that's how they circumvent it. They go to Switzerland. But I'll give you one of those. They're smooth smoke. You have like the was it Dominican or Nicaraguan or something else with like the same cigar, and you're like, wow, this is way more smooth. Like, that's my thing now. I'm like, oh, cool. Enjoy the finer things in life. And that I'm an old fuck. Still young. But, yeah. What else what didn't we talk about? What's something like we need to cover? Oh. I will say, one thing we don't have is bariatric ambulances. So, and this is my and like I only know of why we can do this now is because my engineer had this same group of people that we have. They got into a car accident. Well, the only helicopter, none of the medical helicopters could take a 580-pound patient.
Oh.
Now she's 530. So now, luckily for you guys, if you have someone like that big that you need to fly out, you guys have 301. Our closest hawk is San Diego City. So they actually had to use that helicopter to transport to the hospital. And then we had a medical call the other day for the same people, and I was like, well, fuck, if we have to fly her, we need to start San Diego City now, because that's the only airship that can handle this. I don't even know where our closest bariatric ambulance would be, like a true bariatric ambulance.
Not the wings.
Not the wings, like you guys would have, like, I think AMR has one out there, probably Palm Springs has one with a big gurney and all that stuff and the ramps, and I'm sure they do. But yeah, for us, it's like, just
wait here then.
Yeah, cool. Let's sit here and
I heard at Care in Whittier, they had to like knock down a wall once and like just slide a person in on the back, not even on the cot.
Well, yeah, they had to put that same person like on a mega mover, mega movers. No gurney, remove the antlers and everything, just slide in the back of the ambulance. I'm like, that's not safe. Like, you can't transport a patient like that, even to an LZ. You're an idiot. But yeah, so it's like there's considerations like that you have to take out, being so far from everything else. Like, you have to know out there, knowing who you're running on, because it's always usually the same people. What your resources you need, and ordering early is the big key, because there's people who don't order early and it'll bite you in the ass. And it's always better to order big and cancel than to not.
Agreed.
Yeah, like no one on the radio is gonna be like, here, you just be like, yeah, just start me the world, and then just, okay, yeah, cancel the balance. No one's gonna talk shit about that.
Everybody loves getting canceled.
They're gonna be like, okay, no worries, cool, whatever. Like, it is what it is. But then when you're sitting there going, oh, hey, start me this. 5 minutes later, oh yeah, start me another one of these. And granted, there's times when a call just evolves and you start needing stuff. But there's some calls where you're just like, you should be able to look at the text and be like, you know what, I probably should pull the trigger on this. I think that's, I think that's one sign. Even on the A side, like there's places where the fireman rides in the front seat. Yeah. And you watch in your engineer, so you're watching your engineer doing a captain's role or doing a BC's role. I see in an incident, so you kind of watch them, and those guys don't. They're like, fuck it, whatever. They can cancel it. If Chief doesn't want it, they can cancel it when they get here. But this is what I'm going to do, And I think that's one, especially you as a fireman there, like experience. It's good for you is riding in the front seat and like kind of watching that and seeing your engineer do all that stuff. And then when you're riding in the back seat watching your captain. But it's even then, because it's like you're even kind of in a more responsible role, But like, are you guys? You're on the box, right? Is it engineer medic or dual firefighter?
It rotates. We have the traditional staffing.
Yeah, you guys have traditional, so you have an engineer medic and then a firefighter medic on the box, right?
Straight on the box.
Yeah.
Just medics.
Just medics.
Some spots are engineer medic.
So if you're first on scene, you're supposed to give a size up, correct?
Yeah, I've done it. I've been on TTs. I've been on fire before. Like when I first got the battalion, me and my partner actually.
No one.
Pulled up first on a fire. Like the engine was 3 to 4.
No one's gonna ever chew your ass for ordering more. They're gonna chew your ass for not ordering enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think, the newer people our age and like the people who grow up in that system are kind of seeing that, like, oh yeah, order big, cancel it, fuck it. Doesn't cost anything. But so I think did I go on enough rants? You got enough material? I think we're good.
This is good stuff.
Alrighty.
Alright, we were at an hour and a half, and then you feel like an hour and a half.
Damn, really?
So then, before we end it, anything you're trying to plug, anything you're doing right now?
No, just go follow the Borrego Firefighters Association Instagram, 4160. We just try to post cool stuff. We're growing it. I think it's Borrego Springs Firefighters 4160. We're just trying to grow that and get more exposure and look for the golf tournament that'll be out there. I'm trying to set a date right now. I actually have to text the guy, and we're gonna try to start doing stuff like that and get involved and be more proactive and get our names out there. And regardless of what happens down in the long road with our department, we want to be known, like as far as like, oh hey, these guys are out there, like. So, but yeah, that's it. If you have an academy and you're a medic and you're looking for a job,
they're hiring.
Why? Government jobs. Yeah. No, so that's all I got. I don't think I have anybody to shout out or anything. I think that's it. That's all I have. Just be a good medic, be a good fireman. Cool. Thanks for the beer.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks, Brian. Shout out again to Borrego Springs. Follow them on Instagram. Follow Brian on Instagram too.
You don't have to follow me. Just Borrego Firefighters 4160. That's I do the posting. Well, some of the posting there.
Tell me at the range.
All right. Well, have fun.
All right. I don't really have an outro. So.
You need an outro. We need to figure out this Code 3 Club thing. Like. Something a little less fuckboyish or a little more fuckboyish. Depends on what the angle you're going for, dude. But yeah, that's what I'd say. Get yourself an outro. Holy crap, that was really loud on that last part. I don't know. Yeah, get yourself an intro and an outro. Maybe some music. I don't know how you're gonna edit this, but Brian out.